The big news I was really happy about Anime Expo, besides the anime premieres I was a part of, one of the things that I was most happy about was that I got the opportunity to test Silver Palace out, to play 30 minutes of the game. Well, actually not really 30 minutes, but I was allotted 30 minutes to play the game, and they prepared a very limited demo, but it kind of got the point across. I was very satisfied with the amount that I was able to play, probably for, how much of the game they actually got going on, that they actually, have completed. I don't know, man. I really, right off the get-go, I think that Elementa and Silver Studio, they did a good job with the stand. Compared even to other booths that we had in Anime Expo, the experience went surprisingly smooth. And I really have no negative things to talk about the experience that I had there, to get to play, the amount of time they allowed me to play, the amount of content that was there. Like, it's a booth in an expo, man, right? I don't want to stay there for 3 or 4 hours, The game by itself, there was nothing insanely surprising about it. There was nothing insanely different from, I guess the big 4 gachas, if we're going to call them that. But I had fun. And I think the first thing necessary for any game of any style in any genre is whether you're going to have fun with the freaking game or not. And me personally, I felt like it's in a good state, right? But now let me get into exactly what I was able to, experience there. So the test in itself, it allowed us to play 3 parts of the game. I guess you could say that. First, they wanted to show us the opening cutscene. So you got to experience the opening cutscene for the entire story. We could actually only play as the female detective, but I'm pretty sure they're going to allow you to pick one of the detectives that you're going to want to play as. And they showed us the tutorial boss, right? So the intro cutscene is going to go into the tutorial boss, and then you're going to play the tutorial boss. You're going to learn how to fight the game. And then from the tutorial boss, they put us in the city, which you guys probably already all saw from the trailers. And we were able to explore a little bit of the city. From exploring the city, we continue the story, I guess, and we were teleported to, I guess, a final boss, which is that, the lady that steps on you from the trailer. So everybody was freaking happy about that. I got to get stepped by her by myself this time, which is really fucking cool. And that was an actual boss fight. Like, instead of learning something, you actually had a challenge there. It is the first boss. It wasn't a hard challenge, but it actually was teaching you how the game is going to play, what you need to look out for in bosses, and how you want to kind of, I guess, resonate the characters in your team to make sure that you're doing what the heck you're supposed to do. Yeah, so those were the 3 parts I played. First off, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it is too early for me to talk anything about the story in the game, or whether I think it's, it's going to be good or it's going to be bad. Too early, man. The first boss, the tutorial boss, man, is very, very unique, if anything. I don't want to give anything away. I don't think I've seen that kind of, I'm going to call it character design, in a gacha working in that way. It was surprising. It's a surprising and a memorable first, boss. You have no idea what the hell is going on, but it is interesting. I just want to tell you guys this because I do think that regardless of everything that I'm going to talk after now, I think everybody that, is a gacha game fan or even an anime game fan, an anime aesthetic game fan, you should give Silver Palace a try. Right? I don't think it's going to be for everybody. Maybe it's not even for me, depending on what happens, but you guys should give it a try. After you get through the first boss, then you add the option to start exploring. And one of the things that they showed off, one of the first things you could do is this. And it is very similar, man. Right? Like, you can walk with the freaking horse, and you can drift with the freaking horse. This is the big differential in what the exploration of the overworld for Silver Palace is. Now, the horse can also glide, and the horse can freaking drift, which is the big part of the thing. It is really, really fun. One good thing about the horse that I can tell you guys is that it drifts exactly like Mario Kart. What that means is that when you drift with the horse, as you hold the drift, you start gaining momentum or points or whatever. And then when you let go of the drift to go straight, it gets a boost. In my opinion, that was something that Mario Kart did really, really well, and that kind of revolutionized those kinds of kart racers, right? Even if it wasn't the first one, probably was the first one. Putting this in the horse, man, like, you guys can see it here too. Hold on, let's go back. You can see that whenever she leaves the drift, boom, she gets a boost, right? The cool thing is that here in this video, you can't see because I don't think they had it. They've added something into the game where they light up. If I'm not mistaken, it's over here. I could be wrong, man. I don't remember. Somewhere in the freaking scene, dude. Like I was alone, guys, so I wasn't able to record off of my phone. Like I could have if I had a friend or whatever, but I'm forever alone, so whatever. They light up, 3 things light up, and you're able to know when the best, point is to let go of the drift trigger for you to get a nice boost in speed. So that part of the exploration is really fun, man. The horse looks really, really cool. You're probably gonna unlock more things. Like you can see here that he can fly. Like I could glide with the horse. Yeah, so I wasn't able to do this on the demo play, but that's probably because it just wasn't unlocked. And this actually fixes one of my concerns, which is in the exploration of Silver Palace, you can't scale things. You can't climb on things. A lot of these open world gacha games, especially the bigger ones, like, Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, and now most recently NT, you can kind of climb anything that you want because they're really, really trying to emulate that Breath of the Wild feel. In this game, you cannot. So it's just not a thing. There are hook shot points though, which I mean like grappling hook points. So getting through vertical obstacles isn't as bad as you would think. As I was playing the game, to me, it didn't feel that bad. Right? The fact that I could not climb, it did not feel that bad. The exploration itself is very, very, very similar to everything that you've seen in gacha games. You just go around town and you find, a pack of mobs, and then you destroy them, and then you get a little chest, and then there's stuff in the chest. You go around town, there is a puzzle that you need to solve by placing different things and different switches and that kind of stuff. That's very, very, very run-of-the-mill Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves kind of puzzle solving from the overworld. And me personally, you guys know I don't really like that because it just feels like menial tasks. It's just something for you to do that you just put there, and I'm not necessarily a fan of those. But like, it is an open world game. You kind of have to put shit there, so I get why they do it. My problem isn't with this philosophy itself. My problem is with open world. I'm just sick of every single gacha wanting to be that. But it is what it is, man. For what they're doing, I think it's fine. The one thing that I really would criticize is that even looking at the video here, for some reason, man, and I don't know if this is part of like your development in the game, like you're just getting new things as you play around. When I played with the horse, even telling it to dash, it felt like the horse was really freaking slow. It doesn't appear here, but when you tell the horse to dash, at least in the version that we played, there's a stamina bar. So I can't just dash like crazy like this. At least on the build that I did. I don't know. I didn't really like it. I felt like if you're gonna ride the horse, it should be free like this. You should be able to go as fast as you want all the time. Like, as fast as the horse is going to allow you. And just drift however the more you want and whatever the fuck. Like, it's more fun, man. Adding that stamina bar, I don't think was a good choice. But we'll see, right? I don't know if it has to do with things that you need to unlock or what. But hey, that's my one criticism about the exploration for now. This is no longer a horse law. I mean, I like the horse. It gives the player probably the best way to go around the entire freaking place from the get-go for free. That is something really important and something that you can get over shit like, the motorbikes and Genshin Impact and that kind of stuff from Avuika. It's something that Wuthering Waves was already doing, which is giving the player for free the best way to traverse, So I like the horse. I think it was a good idea. I think it's an original idea. It's pretty cool. Then we get into the combat. The combat itself is very similar to Zenless Zone Zero, in my opinion. And the reason for that is that the mobs are going to shine yellow when you're supposed to parry. There. Boom. That was a parry. And you don't really see here because I think either the mobs are too low level or it's just like not part of these mobs. But the mobs also shine red when you're supposed to dodge. So you have two main action mechanics going on in the combat. The mobs shine yellow when you're supposed to parry, and they shine red when you're supposed to dodge. That is 1-for-1 what Zenless Zone Zero is. You guys know, you guys have been playing that. Most of you guys who follow me, are fans of ZZ. It is what it is. It's not as fast-paced. in my opinion, from what I played, didn't feel as insanely fast-paced as something like Weathering Waves or even Zenless Zone Zero. But the frames that you have to be able to get a perfect parry or to be able to get a perfect dodge are very, very lenient. So it's really not hard for you to parry like that or for you to like do the right thing in the right way. One thing I would say is that sometimes it feels like it's a little too lenient. Like there was one mob, like an elite mob, that he did a dash and then he shined red right before he did the dash. And when he shined red, I pressed dodge, and kind of like the time freeze that happens after a perfect dodge, it activated even before the guy started his dash. So like you would see the time freeze and then the guy didn't even start the dash. He was like all the way over there, but you already had frozen time. You were already like, you know, on the other side of the mob, and then the mob would dash. So I get why they do that, right? That's just like a personal pet peeve of mine, you know, maybe too lenient, but we got to understand that gacha games like this, even though they're action games, they are for casual players. 80% of the people playing kind of these kinds of games are going to be casual. So I completely understand why you would make it kind of that quote unquote easy. I don't think it is insanely trivial as you get onto the later bosses. We'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit, but it is what it is. My favorite absolute thing about the combat in this game, and the one thing I felt like it really did well, is this right here. Yeah. So as you parry and you do right things, they have a stagger bar right here. And you can break that stagger bar like any other freaking gacha game that exists. When that happens, you get to press a button, in my case it was circle, to, you know, do a finishing move. The finishing moves are like this. They are sick, dude. That is fucking awesome. So here's another example. Here's the finishing move for the detective, right? They're gonna do the little sword thing, boom. And here's another finishing move from the doctor lady, which she injects the guy with the freaking syringe. Boom. Dude, and every character in the game, at least the 4 characters that they showed me, I was able to see that every single character has a unique, their very own animations for these finishing moves. This reminded me a lot of Platinum games that I love, you know, Bayonetta, that kind of stuff, but mostly Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. You know, so that kind of stuff is just fun, dude. Like recently, man, I've been playing Ninja Gaiden 4. Same shit, dude, right? You get to finish things, except, you know, in gacha games, you can't have blood. But I thought it was a very nice addition. And even though Weathering Waves does have that, I believe it is for some bosses only, from my remembrance right now. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. It was a really cool addition, right? And it's really cool to see that they're trying to be unique. The boss fight that we got to play to finalize our experience was this one. But I can already see just from the trailer here that there are many things that are different. Like, for example, I don't remember having this phase where you kind of battle that part of the carriage, like this one over here. I just did a shit ton of damage to the chariot, and then she moves out of it in phase 2, just like she does over here. The main thing about it, and what Raiden said in the chat about it reminding him of Stellar Blade, is I actually got reminded of Stellar Blade 2, because Stellar Blade has all of these different inputs. Like, you can't just try to spam dodge or spam the parry at certain points to just get out of there. But Stellar Blade is like 4 or 5 different sorts of inputs that you've got to put in to make sure that you read the boss correctly, that you memorize the boss's actions correctly, and that you react correctly. In here, we only have 2. Now, it seems to me that from what we're watching here to what I was able to play, they added in the red inputs, which can only be dodged. So the yellow inputs, you can parry or you can dodge, but the red inputs, you can only dodge. So right here in this string of commands that she's going to input right now, the boss, you see that all of the things are yellow. The version that I played, there is an intermingle between yellow and red. So again, the reaction and the timing is not that hard to do, but it does award the player for being patient and memorizing some of the patterns. Because if you know it's yellow, yellow, red, yellow, 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 red, then you're going to master the boss, right? And it is a very easy mode of things like Stellar Blade, like Sekiro, like some games that are really hard. So you take these things from games that are really hard, which is the memorization of patterns from the boss and that unpredictability that the boss has, and you put into a very casual gacha game space. It's a sequence of parries and dodges. Make sure that you learn them, make sure you know what to do. CCZ kind of does the same thing depending on the boss, while Weathering Waves is much more complex. But that's kind of what it is and what I felt from the game. Now, a really fun thing from the combat too is that it seems as you get dodges and parries correct, you kind of do damage to the mobs and the boss. Please correct me if you want in the comments below, but it feels like some of the mobs that I was fighting died when I parried. So like parrying actually did something except just not getting hit. So it was kind of cool to see mobs dying just from my parries. I don't know if it makes sense to everybody, but I don't think it was a bad decision on their part, right? So that's kind of what the combat is at, man. It's nothing absolutely freaking insane, but it's also not so mindless that it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to, like, it's going to be insanely trivial for you to be able to get over. Now, of course, this is the first part of the game. Things can get more complicated later, and honestly, I hope they do. The biggest thing here is that I was not able to see the menus in the game. I tried pausing, I tried pressing S, I tried doing everything to see if the game allowed me to see menus, but apparently I wasn't able to. It just wasn't part of the demo. But right here in the normal trailers, you can see that she has crit rate and crit damage. And because she has crit rate and crit damage here, it probably means that the game is going to have a random substat equipment progression method, which is the thing I hate the most about in any single game that I play that has this. I really hate this, especially in gacha games, because of the amount of resources they make you put into this kind of shit to be able to beat a lazily thrown together endgame. Now, I don't know what the endgame in this game is going to be. I think it's just going to be the same thing. So if the endgame in Silver Palace is the same time-limited, very lazily and hastily thrown together endgame for you to beat just by having the right characters, then it's going to be just the same bullshit that we get from Hoyoverse and every other gacha game that is a mainstream stay at this point. It is what it is. You can like that, you can hate that. I'm just here to tell you guys what I feel is going to happen. This is most probably what is going to happen. Now, I actually have no problem at all with a random substat progression system if your player skill is 100% what makes you able to beat the boss. And what I mean by that is you make a boss hard because the boss freaking kills you, because the boss is hard to read, because the boss requires you to have a deep understanding about its mechanics, rather than being a DPS check that is a glorified sandbag that you just hit and you got to do as much damage as possible. That has been the case in so many things that I've played, from playing gacha games for 8+ years, man. And I'm very sick of that. But it is what it is. We'll see what it's going to be. I have absolutely no idea what the end game is as of now, and I am hoping for the best, but the odds are not in my favor as far as what I expect from these kinds of things. That's what I got for you guys. It's fun combat system. I think it does reward you for knowing the boss, for choosing to do the right actions, and for not being trigger happy with dodges or with parries. You've got to do things, you know, take your time, learn the boss. That's how you beat them. You just can't go off and go insane about it. There's two more things I want to talk about. The first one is that characters don't really have a special attack. You know how in these kinds of gacha games, like let's use ZZZ for an example. You have the basic attack and you have the EX attack, or the special attack, and then you have the ultimate. In this game, your special attack, like instead of having a special attack, you have a weapon. There you go. Yeah. So that's your special attack. And that's probably like a combo. So instead of being kind of like in these other games where you special attack on cooldown, like you just special attacks off cooldown, man, I'm going to use it. Or I'm charging the special attack, then I use the special attack. This game kind of rewards you for changing between the basic attack and the weapon attack. So depending on where you're at on the weapon attack, you're going to change to basic attack and you're going to do a special basic attack. Or you're in the basic attack, then you're going to change to weapon and you're going to do a special weapon attack. That was also unique about its combat system. I like that. And that's kind of it, man. Besides that, it's really similar to everything you guys already played, you know? CCC, Weathering Waves, you name it. It's too bad that we didn't get to experience the detective part, but I think that's because it would take too freaking long, which was one of the things that actually make the game unique compared to something like Weathering Waves, like Genshin Impact. The gacha game, in a lot of ways, was exactly what I expected from it. That's not doing anything insanely crazy, but the things that it is trying to be unique in are interesting. If I'm gonna have any problems with this game, it's probably going to be coming from things that every single gacha game does, you know, to keep players in, to keep players spending money and that kind of stuff, rather than problems with the game itself. Problems like that, like, it is a problem. It is a legitimate criticism for you to be like, well, the gacha system isn't going to be good, or, you know, the end game is just this lazily thrown together thing or whatever. And I completely understand that. But that is a problem with the gacha medium itself right now. I don't know what we have to do to fix that, you know, except boycotting shit and just not giving them money. But a lot of the player base just didn't give a crap. So I don't think that kind of stuff is going to get good anytime soon. Ultimately, from the bottom of my heart, guys, we're going to play Silver Palace when it comes out. And you guys know I'm not here to... Anyone that's been here in my channel knows that I'm not here to you know, kiss ass of these games by any stretch of the imagination. The thing is that gacha games like this, they do have the anime aesthetic that us weebs, we love. You know, it does have legitimately a fun combat system. Even though you might prefer Weathering Waves or CCC, it was not bad at all. It has new things it's trying to throw on the table, and you can already see from the trailers that we watch here and from the experience that we had at Anime Expo that they are adding things, they are changing things, they are taking feedback into consideration, they're trying to do things in a different manner. I recommend it. I think we're definitely going to play Silver Palace once it does come out here on the channel. Check it out, see everything. And then finally, talk about the elephant in the room, which is how in the heck the gacha system is going to be. You know, what's the good and the bad side about it. But I guess we'll see, man. It's really cool. If you guys are watching this, if you want more information from YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming over. We really appreciate it. Please, you know, if it was informative, if you guys liked it, give it a like and subscribe, man. My channel is really small. I was actually freaking surprised I was able to participate in this, and it helps. Everything helps, man. So yeah, I hope it helped you guys out. I hope you showed you a little bit more about what kind of the combat is going to be like and everything else about the game. It's been me, man. It's been your boy Ktsu. We're signing out. Thank you guys for watching.